Hi, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can complete the letter keychain for Illustrator Activity 3. So I've got my example here to show you. What we've got is a letter that I've typed with the type tool. I've then used a feature in the type section called Create Outlines. So I've turned my letter into a shape that I can edit. I've applied a pattern to the inside of my letter. I've put a little 3mm hole which can be cut out using the laser cutter for a keychain, and I've also made sure I've got my layers organized. So I've labeled it. You can see I've got my shape with my black line with the correct stroke weight for the laser cutter, and I've got my 3mm hole there as well. So we're going to start off by going to File and New, and we're just going to make an A4, and we're going to have this A4 in Landscape. So I'll just click Create. So you want to make sure you've got your layers open. So go up to Window, tick Layers. You're not going to need the Pathfinder for this one, so you can get rid of Pathfinder, and you're not going to need the pen tool either. So you're going to need Shape. So open up your shape and make sure that's easy to access there. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to type. Just let me pull up my instructions on my other screen. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to use this rectangle. So we're just going to click here and we're going to type in 60 by 60 millimeters. Click OK. We're going to use our selection tool, the black arrow, and we're just going to find the center of this A4 page. So you'll see here a little pink center pops up when we're in the center. Next, I'm going to go to Type, and I'm just going to click the type into the center of that box. And I've chosen to use a font called Forte. You're going to need to choose a font that is preferably nice and fat and bold. So for our keychain, you want to just do the first letter of your first name. So once you've got it, you can scale this up. So just hold Shift and scale this letter so that it fits exactly inside that 60 by 60 mil box. Here, if you don't hold Shift, it doesn't really matter. You can distort a little bit to get it to fit. So you make sure you use all that space. Okay, next, what we need to do is we need to make this bit of typed text something that we can edit and apply a pattern to. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to go up to Object. Next to Object, I'm going to go to Type, and here I'm going to go to Create Outlines. So when I click that, you'll see if I zoom in that my letter, it actually has anchor points all around. So you can see those little anchor points, and you can edit and customize those. So once again, select it, type, and create outlines. So for this to actually cut out in laser cutter, we need to change a couple of things. So select the letter that you just made an outline of. And here we're going to make sure we have a no fill, and we're going to have a black stroke, and we're going to change our stroke size to the size which will be cut on the laser, which is 0.001. It's kind of hard to see. What I might do, just so you're clear, is I'll just put a little handy reminder here for you. Vector cut. Okay. Next, we need a circle for the key ring to go into. So go up to your shapes tray, select the circle. I'm just going to put it up here. So now we can left click and type in 3x3, and then you can just move that into the corner. Have a little bit of space so the wood doesn't break off. You don't want to have it real close because that's going to snap off. Probably a good rule of thumb here is to have about the same distance have about the same distance 3 mils from the outside edge, and that should be fine. Okay, next we want to make sure we can see our swatches. So we're going to go up to Window. Here you might need to click the little arrow so you can see swatches. So we're going to open up swatches, and we want to go down to the bottom of this swatch library. I'm just going to hide the layers for you so you can see here. So down here, this is the swatch library. So we're going to click this, and I want you to go to patterns and nature, and we're just going to stick to foliage. So click that, and you'll see here, once you've got that little library up, you can sort of nest it under your swatches there. Those little trays are magnetic. Or you can sort of pull it off and stretch it out. See, I've got another one here that I don't need. I can just right click and close that. I think I'm going to leave it like this. So if I now, with my selection tool, the black one, select this letter, I can choose to give this a pattern. So the laser is going to etch that information into the letter, and the outside is going to be totally cut out, and these are just going to be engraved inside. So I'm going to stick with, I'll go with this one. I like how this looks. We're only going to be working with the black and white for this activity, just because we don't want too much detail in terms of color information. It'll come out as gray on the laser, but we want these cuts to be quite quick. So if we just have black and white, it's just going to be a lot quicker to get them all completed. So we've got our pattern, and what we're going to do next is we are going to make a little copy of this just to show you what happens when you make a copy. So if I drag a copy here, notice that this pattern, you can see it's a seamless pattern, and that moves as I move my shape. So what I'd like you to do is to position this somewhere where you're happy with how it looks. You might want to consider, where the hole is for your keyring and the detail inside of your letter. So I'm going to go with this for mine. And next, we're going to go to the direct selection tool, which is this white one. We're going to select the letter here. So I'm going to the direct selection tool. I'm selecting the letter. I'm going to hold shift, select this line, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to object, expand, and I'm going to untick the stroke because I don't want to expand that. I want to keep my stroke. I just want to expand the fill. So that's going to mean that when I move that letter, everything's going to stay in place. So I click now. If I go back to it, I should be able to just move that and nothing changes. So that's expanded, and here it's not expanded. So you can see the difference there. Check it's moved, or check you've applied the expand and you can move it around. What we're going to do now is, I don't need this middle one, so you can delete your copy in the middle and just press delete, drag a selection over it and delete it. You can do this with either selection tool, the direct selection or the selection tool. And we're going to put this back in the center here. Okay, now I'm going to use the direct selection tool. We don't need this little perimeter box anymore, so I can select that and press delete. You'll notice I'm using the white arrow direct selection. So when I deleted that one piece, it deleted the line. When I click it again, it's going to delete the whole shape. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to bring up my window. So go to Window, Layers, and here I'm going to organize my layers. I can just left click and drag that window so I can see what's inside. So if you click that little arrow, it's going to show you I've got my hole for my keyring, and I've got my shape here, and I've also got my vector cut. Now I don't need that. I can delete that. I'm sure you'll remember what size to make your stroke, so I can delete this, and I'm going to call this, if I just double click on the layer, the sub layer, I'm going to call this 3 by 3 mil hole. And here you can see, if I open these up, I've got my compound path and all the other bits inside there. So you don't need to worry about those. That's your clip group. You can just close that, and you can close that up as well. And here you're going to just double click it and call this key underscore chain. I actually just call this a letter. And up the top, so these are sub layers. This is your main layer. Key chain. Everything should be good to go. I've got my three mil hole. I've got the outside, and that should laser cut nicely. close that up, close that off, go to File, Save As, call this letter keychain Illustrator activity number 3. And you can save that into your tech folder. I'm just giving it a different name. And you can upload that one to Teams. So once you've done, make sure you've saved it as an Illustrator file, otherwise I won't be able to laser cut it. And then you can just turn in your assignment. Make sure you've checked the following things. So you've scaled it to fit. You've got your stroke at 0.001, no fill, black stroke. Pattern is inside the letter. You get your 3x3mm hole. You've expanded your pattern. Your letters grouped and labeled on an individual layer in Illustrator, and then you're done. Good luck with the task.